Before I left for Malaysia, my friend, who's a self-proclaimed travel expert, grabbed my arm and looked me dead in the eyes. "Never eat Malaysian street food," he warned. "I mean it. Stick to hotels and restaurants. Street food in Southeast Asia will destroy you." He told me horror stories about food poisoning, questionable hygiene, mystery meat, and tourists spending their entire vacation in a bathroom. I nodded, took his advice seriously, and promised I'd be careful. Then I landed in Penang, walked past a hawker stall at midnight where the aroma of char kway teow hit me like a wave, and I broke that promise within 12 hours. What happened next didn't destroy me. It absolutely ruined me for every other food experience I'll have for the rest of my life. My first act of rebellion was at a corner stall in Georgetown, where an elderly Chinese uncle was flipping roti canai at 5 in the morning. The setup looked almost too simple: a flat griddle, balls of dough, containers of curry. No fancy equipment, no health department certificates plastered on the wall, just this man and his craft. I watched him stretch that dough impossibly thin, slap it onto the hot surface, and flip it with movements so precise they looked choreographed. When he handed me that golden, crispy, impossibly flaky bread with a bowl of dal curry that smelled like heaven, I took one bite and actually said, "Oh my God," out loud. The uncle just smiled like he'd seen that reaction 1,000 times. He probably had. He'd been making roti canai at that exact spot for 43 years. Here's what nobody tells you about Malaysian street food. The sketchy-looking stalls are often the most rigorous about quality because their reputation is everything. That uncle, he makes his dough fresh every single morning at 3 a.m. The curry simmers for 4 hours with a spiced blend his grandmother taught him. Every ingredient is sourced from the same suppliers he's trusted for decades. There's no corporate quality control team, but there's something better. His name and his family's honor are attached to every single roti he serves. When your stall has been in the same location for 4 decades and your customers are mostly locals who've been coming since childhood, you don't cut corners. You can't afford to. The nasi lemak vendor in Kuala Lumpur taught me something profound about Malaysian street food. Her stall was just a cart under a tree, plastic stools scattered around, no walls, no air conditioning. But by 7 a.m., there was a line 20 people deep, businessmen in suits, construction workers, students, elderly aunties, everyone united by their need for her nasi lemak. I asked her secret, and she laughed. No secret, just respect. Respect for the rice, respect for the sambal, respect for my customers. Then she showed me her sambal, 37 ingredients, cooked for 2 hours, adjusted daily based on the humidity and the specific batch of chilies she got that morning. This wasn't just food. This was a craft elevated to an art form, and the street setting was irrelevant to the mastery happening right in front of me. I started seeking out the most dangerous-looking places on purpose, the stalls my friend would have run screaming from. A hawker center in Peddling Street, where vendors have been operating since the 1960s. A laksa stall in Malacca where the cook was literally 80 years old and still stirring her massive pot of broth. A satay vendor in Kajang working over charcoal and heat that would make most people faint. Every single place blew my mind. The flavors weren't just good. They were complex, layered, sophisticated in ways that Michelin-starred restaurants try to replicate and usually fail. That laksa, 30 ingredients in the broth, simmered for 8 hours. The satay, marinated for 2 days, grilled over specific wood that adds subtle smoke. These people are culinary geniuses who just happen to work from stalls instead of fancy kitchens. The thing about Malaysian street food that's genuinely dangerous isn't food poisoning. It's addiction. After that first week, I couldn't eat at regular restaurants anymore. Everything felt bland, soulless, overpriced. I found myself planning my entire days around hawker centers and food courts, showing up at specific stalls when they opened because I knew they'd sell out. I gained weight. I didn't care. I was eating sendal for dessert at 11 p.m., having char kway teow for breakfast, and considering a third meal of hokkien before bed. My friend's warning should have been never eat Malaysian street food unless you're prepared to be permanently dissatisfied with food every day.
Thank you.
What shocked me most was the pride. Every vendor I spoke to, and I spoke to dozens, had this quiet, unshakable confidence in their food. They They weren't apologetic about cooking on the street or lacking fancy food. They knew they were masters. A woman selling curry mee in Penang told me, "Gordon Ramsay came here. He ate my curry. You know what he said? Nothing. He just ate 3 bowls." She said it matter-of-factly, without arrogance, just stating a truth. Her curry didn't need validation from celebrity chefs, but it got it anyway because excellence is undeniable regardless of where it comes from. The economics of Malaysian street food is another mind-blowing aspect. I had meals that would cost $60 in London or New York for $3 in Malaysia, not because the ingredients were cheap or the preparation was lazy, but because the entire system is built differently. No massive overhead, no inflated rent for prime locations, no army of staff, just passionate cooks serving food they perfected over lifetimes, priced so their neighbors can afford to eat there every day. It's not poverty pricing, it's community pricing. Food as a democratic right, not a luxury experience. And somehow, paradoxically, this makes it better than almost any high-end restaurant I've tried. By my 3rd week, I completely abandoned any pretense of eating safely. I was that tourist squatting on a plastic stool at midnight, sweating through my shirt in the tropical heat, shoveling char kway teow into my mouth with locals on either side doing exactly the same thing. Nobody was getting sick. Nobody was having problems. The only health issue I had was my pants getting tighter, because I literally couldn't stop eating. The horror stories my friend told me, I realized they were either wildly exaggerated or he'd been spectacularly unlucky. Meanwhile, I'd eaten from probably 50 different street vendors and felt better than I do eating at home. This is a brand new channel, and I started it specifically because I needed to counter the terrible advice people give about Malaysian street food. If this video made you hungry or convinced you to ignore the fearmongers and actually experience Malaysian hawker culture, smash that like button and subscribe. Your support helps us create more content celebrating the incredible food culture that deserves way more recognition than it gets. Drop a comment telling me about the street food experiences in Malaysia. Build a community of people who understand that some of the world's greatest food comes from humble stalls where passion matters more than presentation. Trust me, we're just getting started exploring Malaysia's food scene, and every video is going to make you even hungrier than this one.